Good evening, Sandhya. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to MyLogic's professional talk series. Today's episode is all about changing role of accountants and finance professional in Industry 4.0. And today we have a wonderful leader, a finance leader, who has demonstrated exceptional career in last 21 years. First, I'll give a brief about Sandhya. Sandhya is a chartered accountant, rank holder, has started professional career in 2001 with Hindustan Unilever as business leader trainee. Moved up the ladder as a commercial manager, then later on as a delivery manager, and ultimately become the finance controller for their ETS wing. I was also fortunate at that time. I was part of Capgemini, where Unilever was closely working with Capgemini, and I was on the commercial side of handling Unilever commercial finance for from Capgemini side of handling. So though I have not interacted with Sandhya, but I've been closely connected with many of the counterparts in Unilever around that time. And 2015, Sandhya has moved into Wipro as global head for initially to starts with their one of the business units on the consumer wing, and then moved on to the audit segment. Sandhya was handling the global heads, was global head for audits and risk related areas, and ultimately becomes finance controller, global finance head for Wipro. And 2021, Sandhya has moved as the group CFO for Narayana Health Group. And in addition to that, there are a lot of feathers on Sandhya's cap. Has been, as I mentioned, a chartered accountant, young chartered accountant rank holder, and has been recognized as the 100 top business leaders of Asia. Sandhya is also recognized as the Economic Times Young Leader. And most recently, in 2023, Sandhya has been recognized as a woman chartered accountant, as a recognized by woman chartered accountant by Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Sandhya, it has been it has been an honor to be hosting this session for you, and I'm giving to express your the long journey, and that will give a lot of insights to our young budding aspirants. Welcome to our session, Sandhya.
Thank you so much. Thank you for such a kind introduction, Vinod, and thank you for having me here. I'm really very eager to talk to young generation. These are the people that are going to build the future of this country, future of this world, and I'm really very happy and delighted to be amidst the future.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
makes me feel younger. So,
No, absolutely.
thank
In
you.
fact, yeah, it is our pleasure, Sandhya. So we'll organize a session in three segments. One is initially you will be presenting, you will be walked through the subject for the first half an hour. Then probably as a moderator, I will be with the relevant questions will be parking on, and then we'll open the forum for students to ask any questions. So my request to students also, these are very, very rare opportunity. Trust me, you don't get Sandhya every day. This is utilize this time, and trust me, the 20 years of experience in Unilever, Wipro, and Narayana Health, so much Sandhya could share. Capitalize this opportunity and gather as much as experience possible from Sandhya's discussion. Sandhya, over to you. You can share the screen and start with it.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinod. So what I will do is I'll take some time and just take through some of the changes that we are seeing on how finance is evolving, and try to see how quickly I can get through this session, so then we can have a more interactive conversation. And if you have any questions, you can just write them down or keep them in your mind, and I'll be very happy. You can post them on the chat window also. So as we finish, we can pick them towards the end. So just make it as interactive and as communicating as possible. So just starting on
Sandhya, just 1 minute. You can keep the voice a little more on a
louder.
Yeah, that would
Okay,
be.
get a little closer to the screen. Maybe is it better now?
Yeah,
Am
much
I
better,
audible
much better.
better?
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Sure. So if you look at a typical finance role, and I think you must already be hearing this in multiple forums, and Everywhere you go talk, people talk about finance being the chief future officer. And, I'm not wanting to throw a lot of jargons here. But if you say when I started, or even like 6 years back when I was the CFO for the consumer business unit in Wipro Limited, a significant chunk of my time was spent in that bottom bucket. If you can see that pyramid on the right hand side, a lot of my time was spent, me and my team's collective time was spent in reporting. Based on those reports, then we start doing some sort of an analytics to say, okay, these are the business problems that need intervention. And on those analytics, we take action. Now, that's how the pyramid has been. But as we move into Industry 4.0, as your topic says, or move into more automated way of finance, you will see that the amount of time and energy that is spent in the bottom box will significantly shrink. You will have adequate time to analyze, and most of the time will go in action. So that's really the big flip that's happening in finance, from a controlling reporting function to an action enabling function, which is why it's becoming from a chief control officer to a chief future officer. Can we look beyond reporting and look beyond the financial statements? Now, if you see what that means, and I'm going to take some examples here, so that because all of you are studying right now, and some of you may have work experiences, some of you may not have. But if you go into a typical finance organization in any company, you will see that the bottom transaction bucket is the heaviest bucket. There is a lot of work that happens around accounts payable, accounts receivable, collections, help desk, master management, fixed assets, accounting. Now, I'm not going to get into all of these boxes. What I'm only trying to say is that within these boxes, the way technology is playing out, either many of those boxes are getting eliminated, which means, say, for example, there used to be a function called mailroom at some point in time where somebody used to physically receive the invoices and scan them. Now that's gone. Even GST allows digital invoices. So all invoices are received digitally. The function itself is gone. So there are a lot of transactional activities that are getting completely eliminated. There are activities that are getting robotic automated. What do you mean by robotic automation? Say, for example, when you raise an invoice on a customer, historically, there used to be a manual intervention of somebody logging in, raising an invoice to the customer, and sending the courier to the customer. But now, when the customer service is rendered and a service acknowledgement is made by the person rendering the service, the system itself can figure out that, okay, this is customer, these are the parameters that I need to fill in the invoice, and the robo can dispatch the invoice to the customer. So there are processes that are getting robotic automated. Then there is a bucket that is cognitive automation. Now, cognitive automation is that where there is some amount of repeatable steps that the machine can be trained, and some amount of judgment, like your customer help desk. You go on to Amazon, you buy something, and you have some query, the first person who comes on the board is a bot. The bot actually understands what you're saying, tries to speak with you, saying, what is your order number? What is your exact problem? So can I, have you tried these to solve? And only if the bot cannot solve, then it puts you onto a human being. So there is a certain level of cognition and learning that the tools are embedding. And based on that, they are able to take on a certain level of activities. So all of these put together is now taking us completely out of the transaction space. And this is how the pyramid is going to shrink. If you see, most of the line items in the bottom box of transaction are disappearing. They're either, I'm not sure if the colors are coming clearly on the screen, but they're either getting orange, blue, or green. There's hardly anything left. If you see, the only one left is policies and procedures. Maybe that also with ChatGPT, now ChatGPT can write your policies and procedures. So there is a significant level of work that is done today, which is slowly going away. Then you get to the middle bucket, which is the analytics bucket we spoke about, which is, say, management reporting, budgeting, controls, tax, treasury. Now, some part of it will get cognified, some part of it will be helped by automation, managed by human beings. So, what will really remain and where you will spend your most time is on the topmost bucket, which is strategy, which today gets the least amount of time. So that's really the way the evolution is going to happen. So from what you will move to how. So now you are no longer number keepers, number reporters, you're value creators. And I spoke about the Amazon bot. Just take a example where you can, and this bot we've actually gone live in Narayana already. So it's not like a future I'm talking about, it's live today. And it's live in many companies. Like an Amazon bot, let's say tomorrow the business person has to query saying, what was my revenue for the past 5 years? Did this customer pay me on time? What were the issues I had with this particular product in the past 3 years? Now, because of the advanced functions of generative AI and its ability to read data and read information which is in text form, we are able to provide very meaningful answers, which is many times the role of the finance person in an organization. So, in a way, when they say finance is number keepers, it's not like you are one bot and somebody will call you and ask saying that, what was this number? That's not what they will ask. They'll ask you saying, I'm actually going to meet this customer. Is there something meaningful I should know? That's what your business partner will ask you. Then you will take out the customer ledger. You will look at some of the patterns. You will say that this is how the growth of the customer has been. These type of businesses have grown with the customer. And these are the issues we've had with the customer. These were the type of interactions that happen with the customer. So you as a finance person actually are able to bring a lot of value to the numbers that are there in front of you. And then you share that with your business stakeholders saying, this is this dossier on the customer, finance dossier, use this to talk to the customer. Now system will be all these tech engines will be able to put this dossier together. You are not needed for that. So what are you needed for? You are needed for creating value. What do you mean by creating value? Now with all of this, what should be my strategy for the customer? Should I sell more with the customer? Should I not sell with the customer? What is the decision I need to make with the customer? Within the same time, can I multiply my ability to reach 100 customers? Today, it is constrained by the amount of time I'm able to give for the analysis of that customer. So can we make it 100x? Can we make my business grow disproportionately? So the entire paradigm of how I am able to add value to business as a finance professional will completely change. So which means today we spend a lot of time making many small decisions. If you see the typical life of a finance professional, many thousand approvals will come. Can I do this travel expense? Can you approve this bill? Can you approve this purchase order? What would happen is that whatever logic you use to approve, it is a cognitive logic. It will get automated. So which means really where your energy and your time will go will be in few big decisions. And I'm going to take the example of Wimbledon. Now, when the SARS outbreak happened, the Wimbledon people, they decided to insure for a tournament. If the tournament does not happen, how much money I will lose? They took an insurance. It was an expensive insurance, almost $2 million a year. So for 17 years, they paid that insurance. In total, for 17 years, they'd have paid some 32 million type number they'd have paid. When COVID happened, they made their first claim. And their first claim was $142 million. So for 17 years, some accountant would have told the person who took the insurance saying, this is just money down the drain, you're wasting money. So these are the kind of decisions we are making or we are going to make, big ones, which are impactful. So a lot of the decision making today, and I think, I don't know how many of you have really exposure into the corporate environment, you will find that finance is seen as the, in temples, they see the Nandi who stops you from seeing God. That is the tagline for finance, where you're preventing everything. No, this you can't do, this you can't do, this you can't do. Now that will change to you are the people that will enable business make big decisions, because that's all that will be left to do. Everything else, the generative AI and the advanced systems will do. So finance is looked as a backward-looking function. Now I'm going to talk about one organization. I've taken two examples which are very obvious. People who are using data and information to be able to transform the way they do business. First is Tesla, second is Amazon. But the third organization is who I am going to speak about, and you'll be very surprised who the third organization is. This is the Income Tax Department of India.
Wonderful.
They have fed all our sorry. It's saying the content of this meeting is being sent to a third party. So maybe the income tax department is listening to this also. Okay. But it's okay. So the income tax department actually today analyzes all the data that is out there, including the data that you post on social media. They have an engine that runs that actually sees, say, let's say you post a picture saying, I bought this Benz car, and then you post on Facebook. They actually have some logic that looks at it and looks at your income tax return and looks at whether your income is commensurate with what you have on Facebook. Something of that sort. I mean, not at that level, but they have built tremendous intelligence in being able to look at data and look at what actions need to be taken. So it's really how you use the data and the tools that are available to create the future for your organization. I think that's really where your industry 4.0 is moving. So what will stay? When I say accounting and reporting, what I mean is that you may not still say today, for example, there is a army of finance people, and many of you are ACCAs, and you will be knowing army of finance people just sitting and interpreting accounting standards. Every time we close books, there will be some notes, pages and pages of notes we will write saying this accounting interpretation, this standard, this is why so and so. Now, what should be that accounting decision may be still remaining with us. But how you should apply it, very soon machines will take over. No longer you will have these chartered accountants and ACCAs preparing those accounting interpretations. So accounting and reporting will remain the domain of finance, but it will have a significant metamorphosis on your knowledge will be not knowing the standard or not knowing how it is interpreted, because all that the machine will be able to do. Your knowledge will be how you will use that knowledge to create business value, how you will help businesses. So that is the change it will bring. Similarly, research and data skills are very core to finance, and therefore you will be valued for that. But again, like I was speaking earlier, that you will bring value from your intelligence and thinking and creativity, and not from your slog skills of being able to slog with data, because that the system will be able to do. Technical depth, taxation, forensics, valuation, and above all, fiduciary guardianship, value systems. Finance brings the value systems, the core of the value system to the organization, and that will always remain. Transactions, reports, any logic-based interpretation will go away. It will go away in future. Now, and then everything in between, which is there will be extreme process automation. I'm not going to speak about specifically on each of them, because I think I will address them when you are asking the questions. That may be a better way to make it more contextual.
Makes sense.
But some of the changes you will see is there will be tremendous automation on the processes. Processes will become extremely simple, and some of the enablers will be ERP, robotics, artificial intelligence, blockchain, mobile. All of them will be the enablers. We spoke about performance insights. Organizations will have fewer people, fewer offshore locations. Today, the entire BPO industry is thriving on multiple people being able to sit in offshore locations and be able to do mundane repetitive work. And slowly and steadily, even the non-repetitive cognitive work, the machine will take over. So, which means that whoever of us who are doing repetitive transactional work, we have to upgrade our knowledge, our capability, our skills to be able to take on value creation roles. It's only a matter of time that all of these roles will start disappearing. And our talent paradigm is changing. There is a big aspect here which is about quality governance, data management, and sometimes there is an entire literature around ethics, and we can talk about it a little later. But all of this rests on being able to work on the right data, build the right governances, build the right processes around it so that you're getting the right outcomes. Finally, no matter what we do, whatever we do, someone tomorrow will find a better way of doing this. That's the reality of life. Technology is a tool, not a threat. If you look at technology as a threat, you will never be able to leverage it. If you look at it as a tool, you will be able to leverage it and grow. Change is the only constant. I think it's like a cliched thing, but it is. Our core purpose as finance people, as human beings, is to create value. And that's really where we need to focus our efforts on. Now, this really is the core of my presentation. I do want to park this topic on ESG. Maybe if any of you are interested, because it's not Industry 4.0, so I'm not going into this, but this is a key aspect for any finance professional. So given that I've got a bunch of students, so I wanted to leave this with you saying ESG investing is getting bigger and bigger, and you have to build knowledge and capability around ESG for your own career development. So this is really my last slide. There are challenges, there are opportunities, and the future is at the intersection of human imagination and machine intelligence. That is my 20 minutes of quick presentation, and we can interact from here.
Yeah. Thanks, Sandhya. In fact, thanks for giving that, the context setting and giving that overview. Many of my questions which I planned has been covered. So that's something you touched upon ESG. In fact, our episode 2 was with respect to ESG specific, and Jeff Thompson from IMA, past president, was addressing that. So that was something very contextual. So he was going deep dive. 1 hour session on ESG was highlighted at that time. Yeah. So Sandhya, so probably, we have touched upon the AI part, in between you mentioned about RPA. I'm coming with a very specific question with respect to our youngsters, coming out of professional program. Probably what are the specific skill sets, from a industry 4.0, what they can, these are the 4-5 areas they can really focus that can really add value. If you can give insight, that would be helpful.
Sure. So one is that there has to be some level of familiarity with using technology to solve problems. So it can be any tool. It can be some no code learn tool building learning, or it can be learning in ChatGPT on how do I automate small needs, or it can be like a programming language like a Python. There has to be some enhancement to your professional knowledge, because most of the finance professional courses don't do enough on technology. So therefore, I will urge that you pick up something that you can learn from a technology point of view. And when you get into your roles, apply that little learning and enhance yourself to be able to solve for problems using technology. That mindset, that is one. The second thing is that in the world of today, soft skills are as much, or in fact even more important than technical skills. So therefore, as much as you focus on building your technical skills and competence, and all your professional exams actually get that, it's taken for granted because these courses are so tough. And when you're going through the curriculum, you actually automatically develop that functional skill and expertise. But your soft skills are equally important. So build on your public speaking, build on communication, build on problem solving, build on how do you engage people, how do you, the most useful skill is storytelling. What that means is that, let's say you're doing an analysis and you're presenting that analysis to your manager. How elegantly, succinctly, and strategically you can communicate the analysis. You want to catch the attention of the other person. You want to steer that person in a direction that is right for the business outcomes. And you also want to present it in a way that you're able to give it enough depth, but at the same time, you're not going around with a lot of data and making them interpret. And it's not a simple skill to pick up. Storytelling comes with practice, comes with a conscious effort to say that I want to make sense out of numbers and I want to be able to tell the story that the numbers are trying to tell. And again, this is something that professional courses don't teach. So it's very important that we build that over time. Now, thirdly, when you all land in your jobs, you will have some sort of a ERP tool that the organization will be using. It can be an SAP, an Oracle, a Zoho. You'll be having some sort of an ERP tool. Don't be a user on the tool, be a practitioner, which means that you could say that I know how to put an accounting entry in Oracle. Go one step deeper to say how actually Oracle processes it. Why, how can I actually make Oracle do my job better for me? So, how do I become a practitioner or someone who can use technology and get better outcomes than someone just who receives what technology has thrown at me and be able to just do the tasks that I need to do? So, open yourself to understanding the technologies that you use in your organizations in tremendous amount of depth. And my last point will be that, see, for my generation, I think we were a little bit more luckier that the pace of change was a little slower.
Correct.
So we didn't have to upgrade or update ourselves so often. But for your generation,
It's
the
very
change of pace is so fast.
fast, absolutely.
You have to be a lifelong learner, learning new skills, learning new concepts. Like I had never even, for me it took 15 years to learn ESG. You are learning in 15 months. So it is a much faster generation. So keep picking up concepts which are coming, which are relevant, understand them and absorb them faster. And those would be my
Yeah,
guidance.
that's really great. So just for the interest of it, probably we started with Chat GPT and Python kind of, probably RPA also maybe kind of relevance. Adding on to that, the soft skills, importance of soft skills you touched upon. Then ERP, getting deeper into, as a practitioner you comes up. And of course, the, lifelong learning significance you have highlighted. And of course, the EST part as well. So that was with respect to the first question. So second question, uh, uh, Sandhya, it is more you have been part of these transitions very frequent. I'm sure in Unilever, I'm sure the era of RPA would have started when you are, getting into the higher levels, ETS levels. Then, excuse me. Yeah. So you have experienced that transitions in at senior level. So can you share some examples or practical experience you have gone through those transition? Students will get insights about it, how you handle the situation, and you know.
Sure. So maybe I can take my current example because my old transition examples are so outdated now. They're no longer relevant.
Okay,
That fast technology has moved. So maybe I will take a more current example. It may not be as massive as the Unilever transformation story, but maybe this is just more recent and more relevant.
understood.
So we are going through, we have a very strong business information warehouse in Narayana. It's called Medha. It's an analytics platform. So as I see in Narayana, right now, all the information at all levels is through the Medha tool. So which means that say if the CEO of the company needs to see say the number of patients who walked in with a say chest pain in the emergency room in our Dharwad hospital. They go into the analytics tool and then it gives the data then and there. That's the level of detailing which is there. And it's not just for business information, it's also for financial information. I can see my P&L, I can see my yesterday's revenue, my daily consumption, my costs, everything I can see on the analytics tool. So one of the biggest changes that we've gone through in Narayana during this transformation was how do people adopt to giving up their manual ways of doing things? Because what happens is that over a period of time, people have gotten used to looking at data in a particular way based on certain sources of inputs and manually compiling them and reviewing them.
Correct.
Now you're trying to take that away from them and you're going to tell them that, look, now all of this is there in the Meta business information warehouse and now you please access that. So how do you make that change? How do you make that transformation happen? So what Narayana did was that at all levels, it's especially from a leadership point of view, they stopped looking at any information that was not available in the BI tool. Which means that if someone comes and if I ask someone saying, look, your yesterday's footfall was, only so much, what happened? They'll say, okay, I picked it up from the BI. They say, no, actually there's a mistake in the BI. Then instead of taking a manual information feed from them saying number was Y instead of X, we tell them, for me, the number is X until you fix it. So then people go back, work on the BI, ensure that whatever data sources it is picking is maintained correctly. And therefore, if they want me to see why, I see it on BI. So one of the learnings we've had in some of these transformation programs is that the adoption is key. And adoption comes when there is nothing else available. When you take away that safety net that I can go back to an Excel sheet or I can go back to a data which is manually compiled,
Right.
then there is no choice. Then automatically people transform, adopt.
Yeah.
So for all of you who may, when you land in your jobs, you may not have the power to take a decision initially. Eventually, yes. Initially, you may not have the power to tell the organization, saying, look, I will only report from BI. I won't make your Excel sheet. You may not be able to say that. Your boss will ask you to make the Excel sheet. You'll have to make the Excel sheet. But still, take that effort to work with the business information team, as if extending this example, to make the BI system give you what your Excel sheet gives you. Don't look at it from a perspective that this Excel gives me power. This is the reason why my boss calls me. If the data goes into BI, then my job becomes irrelevant. So therefore, I will hold on to my Excel sheet. Because if you don't disrupt yourself, if you don't make the transition to BI and move on to better, more value-adding things, somebody will come and disrupt you. And when someone else disrupts you, then you will not be able to climb up to the next level. Rather, you disrupt yourself and climb up to the next level. You yourself figure out how do I stop making that Excel sheet I'm making and how do I make BI relevant. So that's really
No, very, very relevant. In fact, there was times, where many organizations move from Tally to SAP, always they have two systems. One was Tally being maintained and SAP concurrently. So, rightly said, Sandhya. So this is something, a transition you have to aggressively, with so much of guts, you have to move in that direction. Sandhya, another relevant point, in all these transitions, there is always a risk attached to, so I'm sure you would have seen a lot of, challenges coming across, you take 100 steps, then you back to square one, again, you have to. So what are the risks you find predominantly with these kind of transition moving, particularly with automation and other steps?
Sure. One, of course, is the risk of change management. That's the biggest risk. But we have spoken about it quite a bit, so far. So I'm not, exaggerating. I mean, talking about it further. The second risk is the risk of data quality and data sources. Especially today, what is happening is with AI, it's not like if you looked at the earlier era of automation, where we moved into maybe RPAs, maybe digitized processes, etc. there was always an input-output correlation. So let's assume that I give an equation saying x plus y equal to z. The system always followed the pattern of x plus y equal to z. But that's not true with artificial intelligence tools. And these tools are not developed in-house. These tools are bought in. And they have a certain logic by which they extrapolate. If you, in many of these AI engines, the same data parameters, if you feed 5 times, it will give 5 different results because it applies a certain judgment. It is doing a certain level of intelligent processing on the data, which logic is not codified. It does not tell you I added 1 to 2 and I subtracted 3 and therefore I got to this number. It does not tell you that. So when then what happens is that there is that risk that some of the, I think it's called hallucination, where the AI can hallucinate certain parameters and therefore give outcomes which are wrong. That's the second big risk in this entire development, and therefore many organizations are building safeguards around that. The third risk, again, which is very often talked about, and so I don't need to elaborate, is the entire risk of cyber. Because more and more data is moving into, because you need to process a lot of data at very fast frequencies and be able to collaborate openly with the ecosystem, which means that you have to be very careful on where all the ecosystem and which all nodes are exposed and how do you secure those nodes. So cyber again is a very important aspect in this entire transition. And finally, upskilling. As much as we keep saying, telling people upskill, it's not easy. Now there are 86 people in this meeting. Now all these 86 people have to go today home and say, okay, I'm going to upskill. You take the decision. The question you will ask yourself is, what do I do? Where do I start? What is upskilling in meaning for me? And that's real for everyone. And it's not that it's very easy to preach from here. And I don't have I don't have a straightforward answer to it, but you have to do contextual adaptation to what type of upskilling will help you walk the path that you want to walk. So if you're in a certain organization, in the certain role, for that role, how do I be able to enhance that role better? Maybe with technology, maybe with functional knowledge, maybe with uh, soft skills. But how do I enhance my outcomes? And for that, what do I need to upskill with? I think each of us have to have that contextual awareness for ourselves and upskill. Only then you will be able to participate in the growth or participate in the changes that are coming in, and you will be able to grow with it.
Thanks for that point, Sandhya, touching upon that point. Probably one connected, you have touched upon that initial part of discussion. When this change is happening, how we touched upon the ethical standards and the regulatory requirements. Probably you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. I think one of we have to be very grateful to the regulators that they have tremendously slowed down the pace of change, because regulation has not moved at the pace at which technology has moved. And
Exactly.
therefore, it has given us time to learn and adapt. If there weren't regulators who were expecting certain format and filed in some useless website and that won't work half the time, and our jobs would have been gone by now. The only reason many jobs are surviving is because regulators are very slow to absorb technology.
Exactly.
But then it's not going to be for long. Slowly, we will see that regulators will also adapt. But what regulators will give you is a framework, an application of that framework. See, no regulator wants to catch someone who's doing the right thing. They only want to catch errants. Now, historically, the way to catch errants is make life so difficult for everybody that somehow somebody will figure out something is wrong and somebody will be catching them. So it was a trial and error method. Now, with the way technology is enabling regulators, they will make regulation more and more simple for people who follow regulations, and they will have tools which will help them look at people who are who are non-compliant and catch them. So regulations will simplify. But then what will definitely complicate is the entire ethical plus the entire governance framework. Because as organizations are getting turbocharged with technology, the scale will grow tremendously. What a company could do, maybe if a company was able to do X, with the same resources, same people, the company will be able to do 100X. Now, then that means that that is the scale and complexity that we as people will have to deal with and have governances, frameworks, standards, a proper way to keep a oversight on the landscape. And of course, the entire ethical considerations. And ethical considerations have, it's like a 3-hour topic by itself.
Agree.
So, yeah.
No, I think you touched upon that part, Sandhya. See, again, you have draw down with that pyramid, the changing role which is happening. See, if we take it 2 decades, in 90s, you would have seen the manual accounting happen. I'm sure you would have seen that. Probably post that, we moved into Excels to start with, then to ERPs, SAP, Oracle. Then we are discussing about further, RPAs. And, we have seen in last 2 decades, so much of, transitions happening. As a industry leader, what do you predict? You also said that, the changes which is happening is in a rapid pace now. So 5 years to 10 years, where we stand, finance professionals, accountants, where we stand. Hard to say.
In fact, that was my presentation itself, which is that, the whole world will change. I feel that finance professionals will still add a lot of value because we will be able to bring meaning to numbers. Now, today we bring meaning to numbers by being a custodian of numbers, by generating them, by reporting them. Tomorrow, that part will get taken away from us because that the machines will do. But the part that where we apply ourselves on the numbers and we are able to give meaning to them to enable business progress, that will never go away. But the thing is, for doing this today, we need 100 people. Tomorrow, we need a 0.1%. So, which means that we have to be able to develop enough skills and competencies that we're able to fill that balance 99.9 of available time with each of us. And that we can only do if we are able to upskill and be able to fill in the gaps of business requirements.
Got it, Sandhya. So probably we'll take some questions from the audience as well, so that, we try to touch upon any other points which we have not discussed so far. Over to you, students. If you have any questions, either you can unmute and ask, or you can put it in chat box quickly. We have roughly around 12 minutes left. You can shoot questions. Either you can chat in the box or utilize this opportunity.
See, one of the most valuable resources that you will have in the future. Yes. Go ahead.
Continue, Sandhya. After that, we'll take it. You were saying something, Sandhya. Please continue.
Just one second. Just
take the question. Yeah.
One of the most valuable resources you'll have is your time. So how productively you use your time is very important. So if you're not going to get something out of this 1 hour, don't spend your time in this 1 hour. Okay. So ask questions. Go ahead. Somebody was asking a question.
Yes, please.
My question was that how machine will hallucinate. You said that somewhat machine will hallucinate like numbers while getting numbers. How machine will hallucinate while getting numbers into numbers. Like you're saying like some topic in that.
So Adarsh, the way many of these AI tools work is that what you do know, a good way to do is go to ChatGPT and ask it questions. Okay, you engage with ChatGPT. You will learn how it hallucinates. So you ask the ChatGPT saying, "Give me a real life example." Say this. You try this. Give me a real life example of of something. Let's say of a nurse who helped the patient, like that. You ask. Okay. It will start with saying some nurse. It will say Florence Nightingale. Some story it will give. You write to it saying, "I'm not happy with this story. Give me a better story." Okay. It'll give you
Okay.
one other story. You write again saying, I'm not happy with the story. It's trying to solve for you. So it's going on trying to see what I can do, what I can do. The fifth story it will give you will be some Mary did this, did this. This is a Mary story it will give. So then you ask him, is Mary a real person? It will say, no, Mary, I have imagined. Go back to your first question. Your first question was, I need a real life story. As you've kept asking the question and as you've kept asking it to improvise, it has left your brief behind that I want to get a real person story. Because every question the system is optimizing to make you happy. And you want a story. You're constantly telling it, I'm not happy with this story. So it's imagined a story and given you. That's how these AI tools work. And you can try it yourself. You don't have to take me for it. Go to ChatGPT and play with it.
Okay.
One good way to develop
What
your mind. Sorry, Adarsh, go ahead. You're saying something.
You're on mute, Adarsh. We'll come back to you, Adarsh. Any other questions meantime? You can put it in chat box.
Ma'am, then what does this changes our financial professions? How does it this
How it changes
ChatGPT?
how it changes your financial uh, profession you're asking. So
Yeah.
what happens is that, see, you don't have to get worried about these numbers, imagining. I'm just saying that as an example for you. In reality, organizations are controlled because they have to report to the stock exchange, they have to report to bankers, they have to report to stakeholders. So nobody is going to allow you to give it to ChatGPT to cook your books and give you a books of accounts. It's not going to be there. They're going to come to you only to say, finalize my books of accounts and give me a balance sheet, which everybody will say is true and fair. That's not going to go away. But the way you will get to that balance sheet will be in a more automated way. System will be able to simplify the way the numbers go in. System will be able to simplify the analytics you do. Today, you may be spending time doing variance analysis between last year and this year. System will give you the variance analysis. So those are the kind of changes which will happen for you, that the way you will get to the outcomes you're getting to today, those will get simpler.
Yes, we have one question from Radhakrishnan. Considering the importance of data analytics in finance, could you share your thoughts on the specific skills or tools students should focus on to excel in the aspect of the profession?
See, I won't say it's a specific tool, but I can definitely talk about skills. One is data organizing skills. How do you organize data in a way that you can analyze them? Second is how do you then work on the data to get outcomes? So some sort of a coding ability to say can be programming the data, or being able to code with the data and get outcomes. So being able to handle large data in a seamless way. Thirdly, go into whichever each organizations use different tools. So if you're a student, you want to have any tool you learn, Power BI, Tableau, any tool you learn, the concepts are similar. So once you go into your organization, you'll have some familiarity of how these tools broadly work. And then you use that familiarity, adapt it to the tool that the organization uses. That's the third thing. The most important data skill is how do you tell the story from the data? We spoke about storytelling earlier. How can you make data speak to business outcomes? That's a skill you will have to build, and that you have to build with practice. Look at data, try to tell the story, see, am I able to communicate this better? Keep trying, be able to tell the story with data.
Okay, we have a question from Eunice. Different companies have different technologies, different tools being utilized. What is the famous, what big companies, which one to use to upskill? Technically, different tools being considered, or, it's more of a generic questions, but probably this is one or two, which I think you have touched upon on ChatGPT, Python, related things. Probably it's more directed to that. What is the specific tools they could consider is what the question.
Yeah. One is, of course, see, all organizations work on a certain ERP, so it could be SAP, Oracle, Zoho, some sort of an ERP they will use. So that, just understanding basics of how an ERP works, if it's your first job. But once you land in the job, then, like I said, you have to become a practitioner in that ERP to be able to give a good value addition. So learn that ERP far more deeply once you land in the job. But before you land on the job, at least have a basic understanding of how ERPs work and the role that they play. And you can learn any ERP that way. It gives you that conceptual framework. That is number one. Number two was, like I spoke about earlier, you have to have some sort of a coding knowledge. And third, what I gave, the data skills, building data skills, like having some understanding of, say, a Power BI, Tableau, any other. You can also look at some courses. There are many free courses available, or very low cost courses available on data modeling, data organizing. How do you work with data effectively? So have some broad understanding of how do you work with data. But really, the key for you is once you land in the job, it's not like your, ACCA curriculum. You've learned so much. None of it you will actually use in your job, because what we do in jobs is there is this. I think that forward that keeps going. In second standard, I learned math, and then in my college, I learned advanced calculus, and we keep on progressing. And then when you go to your job, you come down to Excel. I think there is one forward that runs in WhatsApp. So it's like that. When you come to your job, you'll probably not use many of your advanced skills that you have learned in your syllabus. But technology is not like that. What you learn in technology, you have to use in your job to be able to have that giving you meaningful development. So whatever you learn, go and apply it in the jobs that you take up.
We have a
Hisham is
question.
asking,
Yeah.
do you want to subjects of finance? There will be changes. There could be, yes. Everyone is talking about ESG. Everyone has introduced now. Similarly, the data analytics, many courses are introducing. Definitely, finance curriculum has to change. See, when all of you are coming out of college, you need to be job ready. And today, whatever qualifications you're all taking, they're only making you 50% job ready. If you have to be at least 80% job ready, you need that upskilling to come even as part of the curriculum. So definitely, there will be a change.
Any more question? We'll take probably one more question. Anybody? You can unmute and Sandhya, there's one specific question. This is nothing to do with the technology per se, whatever we are discussing. They're all aspiring professionals. So from your experience as a chartered accountant, as a professional student 20 years back, what is your advice to them, preparing for exams? They're moving in this. What are the disciplines you have maintained? If you can share your thoughts on that, that would be extremely useful for them.
See, we were a little fortunate that way that we didn't have the amount of distractions that you people have. Not easy on you. Many times we had nothing else to do but to study. But you have a lot of things that you can do. But the benefit you all have is the level of exposure. I would have never attended any online. Today, I can just log into Udemy and I can do 200 online courses. For me, if I had to do a course, I had to wait for somebody in CA Institute to think that that course is relevant and bring one speaker. And that speaker, you have to find that exact time when that speaker is speaking, go be in that auditorium. And that is how you can get that knowledge. But today you have that advantage that you have so much access to knowledge. So my tip will be that prioritize your time into 3 halves. At least 60 to 70% of the time that you have, spend in passing your exam. That's your certificate, no? To get to the next step. So you have to, and all your, whatever curriculums you're all pursuing ACCA, CPA, they're all very difficult examinations. They're not easy. It requires a lot of studying. And so at least 70% of your time you dedicate to that. About 20% of your time you dedicate to knowledge gaining. Maybe this session, I don't know how useful it is, but do useful sessions, do courses on Udemy, do soft skill training, maybe do Toastmaster. It helps you build your own small, you don't have to be going to logging into Toastmaster. Among yourselves, only some 4 people get together, take a topic which you're studying about and discuss. It develops your speaking skills, develops your communication skills. 20% of your time, you please invest in self-development. And 10% of your time, obviously, is for entertainment, relaxation. But in that, please give some time at least to your health, whether it is eating healthy, exercising, sleeping adequately. Please give time to your health. So that's really how I would split my time.
Thank you so much, Sandhya. It has been, 1 hour has flown like that. And, I'm sure students have got enormous output from our topic today on, the changes for the future for finance and accounting professional. Once again, on behalf of entire students and MyLogic, I thank you for, making yourself available for this schedule. And we look forward to more and more sessions with you to enlighten our students. Thank you so much, Sandhya.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone who has joined. And it's been really nice speaking to all of you. And if you have any new questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm available. My ID comes as Sandhya Sriram. You can reach out to me. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Sandhya. Thank you.
Bye.